I am here to address your questions on how to ask for a raise, specifically timing and career strategy, when to ask for a raise, how to negotiate or renegotiate, and whether to wait for that perfect time. So let's jump into what you've asked. How soon is too soon to ask after joining, switching roles, or getting a promotion? There's not a firm answer here, but my general rule of thumb is 6 months to a year. I also want to make a really important distinction, and that is between asking for a raise for today or asking if you're ready to be promoted now versus simply expressing that you are ambitious, you have career goals, and you are hoping for a raise or promotion within X timeline. Maybe that's 1 to 2 years, depends on your exact situation. So, from the beginning, you certainly can express that you want to grow with the company in these ways, but that is different from setting the expectation that you are demanding something sooner than is really appropriate. Next, how to time your request during tough market conditions, restructuring, or budget freezes. I really appreciate this question because it appreciates so much of what I often say, which is that the timing of when you ask is almost more important than the case itself. And so this really recognizes that it may not be ideal when the market is tough or the organization is going through a hard time. Now, that doesn't mean that if you have the business case for your raise, you shouldn't bring it forward. But what it does mean is that you should at least acknowledge the sensitivity there. Maybe you want to go in and say, I don't know if this is a good time to ask. I realize that the macroeconomic environment or our particular leadership transition are causing particular questions right now. But I want to talk about the fact that based on the impact that I've made, I feel like I should be earning more. And so, again, it's kind of wrapped in this sympathy for what your manager may be going through and not just coming from a place of ignorance that you really don't know what's going on. And there are times, certainly, not to do it. I mean, if your manager is in a tizzy because their boss just got fired or there was a big budget cut, then it would be time to hold off. But I don't want to say that you can never ask in a tough year because this whole year may be a tough year. Next, should you wait for performance reviews, anniversaries, or other milestones? No, not necessarily, especially if you're in one of the unfortunately too many organizations out there that don't have a lot of discipline around performance conversations. Now, if you're in an organization that is buttoned up and is making sure that everybody is having these two-way conversations, every 6 months and again at the end at the point of an annual review, then it can make sense to wait because the your manager is planning to invest time in these types of topics at that point anyway. But if those conversations are not regularly happening, or there is a catalyst for making your case compelling right now, then assuming that the other timing of the environment that we've talked about makes sense, you should go forward and do that. What you don't want actually is for it to come out of left field in your performance discussion that you are hoping to grow with this organization. That typically should not be the first time your manager is hearing that aspiration, unless you're relatively new and you were waiting for that 6 or 12 month mark to even have a preliminary conversation about it. As always, so much of this is stylistic based on your comfort level, how you perceive your manager's receptiveness to these types of topics to be, and also just the broader organizational culture and norms and best practices that surround you. It also never hurts to ask a work friend or trusted colleague what their experience has been with the right time or the wrong time to bring these things up. Is it smart to have a competing offer in hand first? It really depends. Again, I know that's not what you want to hear. If it is an offer that you genuinely are interested in and would take if you don't make the traction, make the progress internally that you want, then yes, there's no harm in mentioning that because it is a realistic threat to the organization and you might really leave and take that job. What I would caution against, and this is why I said it depends, is spending your time, your energy, your references time going out and getting another offer just for the sake of having a bigger number on paper when you're not realistically going to consider making that move. It's a waste of everybody's time and it can backfire because then if you still don't get the internal raise you want, you're faced with either staying and showing that you didn't really want the raise or the other job that badly, or leaving for a job that you don't necessarily want. And I'll add something here, which is that you don't want to be known as a person who's constantly running around the market, interviewing and getting other job offers and then bringing them back. That's something that maybe can work once in a typical organization where you get a job, you really are thinking about it, you give your organization a chance to make a counter offer, but that's not something you can be doing on an annual basis and expecting to maintain your reputation and credibility and level of trust within the organization. And then, lastly, in this overall bucket of timing and career strategy questions, I want to address one, which is how to align salary conversations with career moves, like pursuing a C suite role or taking on new responsibilities. This is a perfect question because I always talk about how any of our jobs is like a pie, and there's a slice that is your salary. There's a slice that's your total compensation. There's a slice that is your ability to be promoted and grow within the organization and build out your skills. There is a piece of the pie that you may feel is rewarding because it is about your broad scope or the large team you're managing or the great title that you have. All of this goes into what makes a job compelling. And as this person who asked this question is suggesting, it may not be just about the raise, just about the money. It may be that that is, a symbol of having a bigger job, and it's really the bigger job that you want, and of course, the raise that comes with it. So, having that conversation with your manager from the beginning about what your ambitions are makes a lot of sense. As I've also said before, the bigger raises internally are going to come with promotions as opposed to the raise that you can eke out without taking on any more responsibility. So, as you're making this case for your raise and explaining the fantastic impact that you've had and the results that you've driven, you can make that case not just for more money today, but for your growth trajectory in the organization because you've proven in this case for a raise that you're also capable of more and of bigger if that is also your aspiration. It's not everybody's and that's okay too.